Hello, welcome to the Diaspora Eye. I'm your presenter, Lamin Jami. Here are your Diaspora News Roundup. There are over 400 Gambian migrants sleeping rough on the streets and the train station of Italy during this COVID-19 pandemic. Italy, their country of hosts, has been hit with over 35,000 deaths of COVID-19. Most of these Gambians are undocumented, having traveled via the popular backway through the Mediterranean Sea. Both Italy and the Gambia have duty under international law for their well-being. In Germany, it has been reported that there are over 5,000 Gambians waiting for deportation. What is the Gambia government doing? What is the foreign minister doing to hold this deportation of Gambians in Germany? In other news, a Gambian Swedish by the name Lovett Jallo has been on the news headlines for all the right reasons. Lovett, a human rights activist, a Pan-African, has been engaging our Gambia government in Banjul and other African nations to repatriate their citizens from Lebanon to their countries of origin. Lebanon, a country which is well known for the violation of human rights, especially on migrant workers from Africa. Over 36 Gambian women and their families has been first refused travel documents by our consulate in Lebanon. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll have a special guest on these topics. I'm sorry. I'm sorry because you wouldn't see your mom again, because he's passed away. I'm sorry your father has equally passed away. Your brother, sister, all gone too soon. I'm sorry that I couldn't save them because there is no cure. All our hospitals and mortuaries are full. The health system is crumbling down because most of the doctors and nurses are dying of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real. Save yourself, save me, and save your families and loved ones by wearing a face mask, wash your hands regularly, use hand sanitizers. In this way, you protected, I'm protected, they are protected. Stay safe and stay healthy. Hello, welcome back. I've got a very special guest today, Mr. Momodou Sabally. Mr. Sabally, a former Secretary of State, Minister of All Presidential Affairs, Economics, motivational speaker, and author to the famous book called Jangi Jollof. Founder, President of SLA, which is the Sabally Leadership Academy. Mr. Sabally, welcome to the Diaspora Eye.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Sabally, recently we have seen young Gambian migrants in Lebanon. In the headlines of the past weeks, a young activist called Lovett Jallo and her colleague Fatou Jain have been at the front line. Allegations and counter-allegations have surfaced in the news and the social media approaching the nature of the repatriation of the Gambian migrants from Lebanon. Do you think that the Gambia government should use this as the content as a publicity game for the migrants?
Well, this is a complex issue. I'm still reading it. I've not made a public comment on it yet. I know the issue of migration is a very tricky one because we all know these issues of migration do not always go by the rules. Do I blame anybody for that? No. We all do our raba-raba. We are all ghetto youths. We know how it works. Now, I've heard a lot of noise from the activists, but I'm hearing some counterclaims right now as we speak. I'm listening to a series of audios that is actually trying to give a counter narrative to the effect that the government has not been sitting down idly The government has been playing their part, but during this COVID lockdown where people can't move around easily for even public functions, diplomatic protocol might be a little bit slow to meet the fast pace that the public might want. So like, my point is like, I am 100% opposed to this government, but I don't want to criticize them based on falsehood, and I don't want to criticize them unfairly. I'm watching the situation. I believe government has played a role. Maybe their roles did not move as fast as the public expected. If there are philanthropists who stepped in, I think it's okay.
Mr. Sabally, I would want to believe that you have been in government and you are a very experienced person. So if a single-handed person could raise these levels to get people, to get lawyers involved in Lebanon, I'm sure the government could have done better. So if people are saying that the government were trying to work on diplomatic measures, I personally, I'm not going to say I wouldn't agree with it, but I think the government should have been more in place trying to help these girls to go back to the Gambia, as we all know the way they were suffering in Lebanon.
Well, like I said before, this is an issue that's still evolving and I'm still reading. I believe government has made some effort. Have they acted fast enough? Perhaps not. But I don't think the government completely reneged on their responsibilities, as some people want us to believe. I'm giving the borough administration the benefit of the doubt on this until the picture becomes clear. I believe they've done something. Is it fast enough? No. It's diplomatic issues. It can be tricky. Mr. Jame, you and I know.
Well, we all know, Mrs. Sabally, there have been some serious allegations made by this girl, Lovett Jallow herself. I mean, the kafala system, which is a very serious and dangerous system which has been operating in sub-Saharan West Africa. So we have got informations coming that there are people who are benefiting from that system in the Gambia government. That was one of the reasons that they didn't react quite fast and quite rapidly as she done.
Well, what you said is Lovett made an allegation. Perhaps you should talk to the government to hear their side. I am not rushing to pass judgment on anybody on this. What I'm saying, I am repeating, immigration issues are tricky. I know I played a role during the Jame administration where we used our then honorary consul to spend his own money and evacuate Gambian girls back home. This is not a new thing. The situation is bad there. But equally, we should ask a question. If we are going to be fair, we cannot just hold the government accountable. We need to talk to each other as brothers and sisters also. If people have gone through this thing and suffered and been stranded and been maltreated, why are we still going there? So we need to make this a very mature, open discussion so that we can come out with tangible outcomes that will benefit all parties.
Well, that is absolutely right. But one thing we need to know, Mr. Sabally, which I'm sure you know very well, you've been in government clearly, like you mentioned, and everybody knew that very well, the work that you've done in the former government. However, these people cannot take themselves to Lebanon. There has been agencies, like I said, they've been working with the kafala system in the Gambia, and of course, in Lebanon, and people in the Gambia have been involved. You don't have to put on names out there at this stance right now because investigations are going on and we're also working with our researchers back in the Gambia. But we know for a fact that there were people involved in smuggling these girls, making paperwork for them to go and work in Lebanon. Because remember, there's a visa application system between Gambia and Lebanon. So what's your take on it?
Well, if you are trying to practically hide names in the name of being cautious because the investigations are on, then we might as well shelve the discussion. What I'm saying is we cannot just call out government. We have to call out all the stakeholders, including those alleged smugglers and the girls themselves who keep getting back into this destination, which has been very bad for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. But we have to we have to totally hold government responsible for the lack of, energy they have put in this compared to the girl herself, that the energy she put there trying to employ lawyers to work on her behalf and the behalf of the NGO to go and get the people. So we have to call a spade, Mr. Sabally. I'm sure you do not want to criticize the government based on what is out there until you yourself, you know that, because I know yourself, you're a very big critic of the government. So coming on to this one here today, I'm a bit surprised.
I know, but I am a critic of this government,
yes.
But I do it responsibly, and I hate to trade on false information just for the sake of opposing my government.
That's right.
And also, if it is an issue that's out there in the international scene involving third parties, third countries, I want to be very careful what I say about my government, because Barrow and his cabinet they don't own this country. This is the Gambia. Barrow might lead next year, whatever bad image that comes out of this sticks with us. So I want to make sure I have all the facts. And I repeat, I believe government has made some efforts. You made a statement here that I found quite interesting. You said government did ever put enough energy in anything.
Well,
this is what Bojo Nation have been talking about all along. But for now, I am not passing judgment on them on this one too soon.
Right, Mr. Sabally, moving forward, recently there has been a lot of disturbing news about corruptions in the Gambia. We have seen a lot of videos and writing. There are allegations. What is UDP majority doing in National Assembly in fight against this corruption in the Gambia government?
Why are you asking me? Why are you directing the question to UDP?
Well, because you form the majority in parliament.
Be the only party in parliament. Yeah, I was saying, is UDP the only party in parliament?
Absolutely not, Mr. Sabally. I agree with you. You're not the only party in parliament, but you form the majority in parliament. That's the point here.
Well, I think you all know by now that without the UDP in our National Assembly, this would have been a rubber stamp assembly, because we've seen people like Honorable Halifa Sallah practically put a yes vote on virtually every single bill that Anna Barrow has brought into this assembly. So UDP has actually been a whistleblower in this assembly from Barrow's brown envelopes when he tried to buy certain National Assembly members to trying to control expenditures. Our deputies like Sana Jawara, Yakumba Jaite, honorables, have been the most outspoken in terms of Mambure Njai's butchering of the budget, as rightly dubbed by Honorable Sidi Ajata. So UDP has been really, I mean, Gambians should be grateful that we have yellow names in this parliament. Otherwise, you guys would be dead and buried by now. Barrow would have chopped everything.
So you can understand the reason why I mentioned UDP as the leader of, majority leader in the parliament in the Gambia. However, Mr. Sabally, moving forward, often the United Democratic Party described as belonging to a normal Gambian political party with no policy. In this case, if not, can you give us major policies that United Democratic is coming up next coming elections?
Well, I just want to perhaps remind you that I am not appearing here as a member of UDP or as an executive member, and I'm not an executive member either.
But you are a very important person. You are a very important person in United Democratic Party now.
So I am not in a position to speak officially on behalf of the party in terms of matters of policy.
In terms of matters of policy, but Mr. Sabally, this is a very important question here. In terms of policies...
That's why you should direct it to the right person.
Yeah, but that's fine. You're here today and we're talking to you today. We'll hopefully one day have the right person to talk to them. But I'm quite sure that you're one of the right people that is part of that United Democratic Party, which is a big party in the Gambia. But anyway, moving forward, we've seen that the 24th anniversary of United Democratic Party was just celebrated. What was the essence of the low-key celebration? Is it that you're losing support, or is everything going to Team Barrow these days? Or is it due to COVID-19?
Well, at this point, I would want to ask you if a platform is sponsored by the NPP.
No, no, I wouldn't say that. It's called the Diaspora.
Because it's you actually know that in this COVID period, and given the inspiring and proactive leadership role our party leader and Secretary General, the Honorable Isundaba, has played in the fight against COVID, he would not want to do a high-key celebration whilst there is a state of emergency and people are actually concerned about their health. So the low keys are actually just to make sure we don't pull crowds together. That's why they do the press briefing and tree planting exercise, just to make sure the day doesn't go past like that without being marked, but also we don't behave in a way that would endanger the lives of Gambians, because the life and health of Gambians is the #1 priority of the UDP under the dynamic and inspiring leadership of His Excellency, the Honorable Ousainou Darboe.
Mr. Sabally, now let's talk about the economy. We know that the minister has already said that he spent $4 billion into this COVID to tackle the crisis in the Gambia. Do you think that this government has got plans in how to handle these problems in the Gambia, COVID-19, as it stands right now?
Well, from the get-go, I said this through several open letters addressed to the president and articles in the media and multimedia interviews, that the government does not have a plan and that they need a plan. There is no coordination, there is no effective leadership, and that lack of effective leadership is epitomized by the fact that President Barrow cannot even face the citizens of this country to talk to them about what his government is doing to fight this pandemic. The last time he came out, he was practically hectored by Gambian social media for him to come out. And when he came out, I mean, he talked about everything, but at the same time, he talked about nothing. There was nothing new or creative or reassuring about his speech. And his health minister, who most of you refuse to criticize for reasons I don't know, has been a dismal failure. And if he had any dignity, he would have resigned his position, because he has failed woefully in terms of inspiring, motivating, and coordinating the health sector personnel to effectively fight this COVID pandemic.
This is where my next question comes in. Another thing is, Mr. Sabally, I mean, the opposition, which people are really relying on to fight our case for us in Parliament. Now, you talk about the health minister. Yes, that's quite right. But if the health minister is coming out, like the government itself is not coming out to talk about the issue in the Gambia, the economic impact this has got in our country, why is it not being tackled by the opposition in Parliament?
Well, the opposition has been speaking, continues to speak. If you even listen to the speech delivered by the party leader and Secretary General of the UDP, Honorable Ousainou Darboe, he really did a good segment of his speech was dedicated to this issue. Our National Assembly members in the Assembly have been in the forefront, advising government, challenging them to take the right steps, challenging government to make sure that funds that are appropriated and allocated towards the fight against COVID are spent properly. But unfortunately, this government seems to have some support from certain quarters who don't care about anything but to see that Barrow is entrenched and Barrow perpetuates himself as a leader. This is the unfortunate situation we found ourselves in. But our party is doing its best, from the party leader to our deputies, to our, you see, our elected representatives from Mayor Talib Bensouda to Mayor Rohilo, Landing Sane. I mean, our people from the get-go. I mean, we got into this fight in a proactive way to fight COVID way before Adama Barrow took a single step. In fact, they are just trying to catch up with the UDP. You've seen what our party leader and Secretary General has been doing. His own personal initiative, non-partisan, of food bank that's been distributed countrywide, regardless of party affiliation. I think UDP has been an exemplary force in this COVID fight. I wish the government could do half of what UDP did in this fight. It would have been much better for everybody.
So what would you say that the United Democratic Party has been offering the government in terms of to tackle and to fight this crisis that's everywhere around the world now?
Well, like I said, we took the lead in the first place way before government did anything. Our party leader came out, gave a statement, canceled all of our political activities, even before government formally promulgated a state of emergency. Ousainou Darboe canceled all UDP public activities when Barrow was busy politicking up country with his people. Our party leader came out and did a hand-washing simulation to inspire people. Our party's youth wing went around town sensitizing people about COVID. Our National Assembly members were in the House busy trying to guide the government as to what to do, coming up with proposals. But it seems that this particular government is not interested in anything that is not coming directly from them. And that would have been pretty okay if they were actually proactive and if they were doing anything. But you don't want other people's name to be attached to any progress, but you don't have any ideas or energy or plans.
But I'm sure, Mr. Sabally, you will agree with me. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm sure you will agree with me if you put things on the table for them and solutions to these problems and how to tackle COVID-19 in the Gambia, because it's quite scary, the level of the numbers that are really going up in terms of COVID-19, which is really scary. Do you think the government actually knows the right figures of infected patients in the Gambia?
No, definitely no. I think they are just playing around with numbers. And a classic example of that is that recently they lost the laptop that they were using to do their situation reports. And it just shows how unserious this government is. I don't think they know what they are dealing with. They're just bandying around figures, as usual, to satisfy our development partners so that they can have aid money that they can share among themselves and not necessarily direct towards the fight against the pandemic.
That's quite very sad, you know, that the government of the country do not even have any solutions towards this economic pandemic that's going on now, right now, COVID-19 that has took over the whole world. However, I mean, you have Mr. Momodou Sabally online today from the Gambia. We'll take a short break and we shall be back with you. Stay tuned. I'm your presenter, Lamin Jami, on this special show called The Diaspora Eye. I'm sorry because you wouldn't see your mom again, because he's passed away. I'm sorry your father has equally passed away. Your brother, sister, all gone too soon. I'm sorry that I couldn't save them, because there is no cure. All our hospitals and mortuaries are full. The health system is crumbling down, because most of the doctors and nurses are dying of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real. Save yourself, save me, and save your families and loved ones by wearing a face mask, wash your hands regularly, use hand sanitizers. In this way, you protected, I'm protected, they are protected. Stay safe and stay healthy. Welcome back to Diaspora Eye. I'm your presenter, Mr. Jami, on this special show called The Diaspora Eye on TI Media. It's a pleasure to have my very special guest all the way from the Gambia, Mr. Momodou Sabally. Mr. Sabally, a very important question. Mr. Sabally, can you please tell the viewers the importance of the diasporan's contribution towards the economy of the Gambia?
Well, really, the Gambian diaspora's contribution to socio-economic development in this country is really inestimable. You can't actually quantify it, because we know for sure practically every family goes to Western Union in this country to receive the life-saving remittances that you guys are sending to family and friends. And that is important in terms of supplementing local income, which is not much, even for those who are gainfully employed. But, you know, human beings live for hope. A human being who doesn't have hope, usually his life is not all that meaningful, and it makes life miserable. So the Gambian diaspora out there gives hope to those people who are here. We know how families would sell their land, mothers would sell their jewelry, some would sell their cattle just to make sure their children go abroad either to study or to work. And that is because we know that opportunities are not all that prevalent in this part of the world. So, and it gets so critical that once a person leaves and goes, even whereas the person is, the fact that that person is outside gives a lot of hope to those who are back home here. We know for sure that a good part of the Gambia's intelligentsia live and work out of this country. And the knowledge there, the expertise may not be employed directly in our public service, but through platforms like these, our diaspora is contributing to development of the country. And I always like to do this comparison. The emerging figures from research around the world is that remittances into sub-Saharan Africa are practically as important or even bigger than overseas development assistance. I'm quoting from figures that I used a couple of years ago. The prediction was surely remittances were going to outpace development aid. And I believe that is true, because from my experience of the Ministry of Finance, I know that all those numbers that are pronounced by either the EU pledges or the World Bank or the IMF, more often than not, when a number is pronounced like 10 million by the EU, most likely 5 million goes back to EU in terms of procurement of physical resources and consultancy services. So the diaspora and their role in the socio-economic development and stability of our country, definitely it's so immense, we can't put a value on it.
So then will you say that this government is really taking diaspora seriously? Bear in mind that we've seen some time ago that the president came out to describe or to categorize the diasporans as the tail of a goat in Wolof, Geni Baby Mbita Bafenyo. Do you think this government has really taken diasporans seriously?
Well, I think
Mr. Sabally,
the Barrow administration is only paying lip service to the Gambian diaspora. And this is very unfortunate, because we all saw the level of enthusiasm with which this administration embraced the diaspora, with President Barrow himself practically giving credit to the Gambian diaspora for the change of government ushered in his administration in 2016. In the beginning, it was cozy, but as the diaspora went back to their usual role of holding government accountable, the relationship became sour, and it's sad that it went to a level where we've heard certain remarks being uttered by the president, which are really distasteful, and followed, of course, by remarks from his own vice president, Madam Cindy Hellman. I mean, it just shows that this government has decided to antagonize the diaspora, which is very bad for them, and they will surely pay the price. But what is sad is they have a national development plan where they call the diaspora the 8th region, and that's why I say it's just lip service. You call the diaspora the 8th region, and then you call them Bafenyo. That's like they're useless. So, I mean, where is the sincerity on the part of the government?
That's true. I mean, recently we have seen that there are over 400 Gambian migrants sleeping rough in the streets and train station of Italy. Italy, they're a country of hosts that has responsibility equally as the Gambian government to safeguard these well-beings of these people, Gambian migrants. What do you think the Gambian government should do to engage the Italian government in terms of these migrants, Gambian migrants sleeping rough?
Well, there's a lot that the government should do, but should we expect much from them? No, because this government has a problem of self-esteem. You know, when Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, you know, that song is rings more true today than when Bob Marley sang it, because we have a government that came into power with the belief that the white people, the Tubabs, have the solution to all our problems. And because of that, all they did from the beginning was whatever the Tubabs say, especially Europe, they say yes. Whatever agreements that were brought in were signed. And this is why people like me, from the beginning, I was very critical of our relationship with the EU, because I thought that the government was making it too easy for our European former colonial masters. And that's why I was critical of a decision, for instance, to just jump back into the Commonwealth without any serious diplomatic negotiation to make sure that we gain something out of this re-entry if we must actually enter. So this is the mindset of a government that thinks that these Tubabs are gods, and which is really not the case, because I have experience dealing with these development partners. I was head of EU-Gambia dialogue that happened, I think, in 2013. And really, I was able to sit down with the European delegation and speak to them as equals, and they actually listened to me and respected my opinions. But if you have a government that thinks that these Tubabs are God, we should not say anything that can offend them, the government is just going to sacrifice their citizens. It's unfair, unethical, really shameful. But the Gambia government, through its foreign ministry, should raise the alarm bells, contact not only the Italian government, but the EU headquarters to make sure that our brothers and sisters, especially in these very difficult and trying times, are given treatment befitting a human being, just like they treat other migrants from other countries in the European subcontinent.
Well, I think that's quite right, because if a government of a country doesn't take his nationality very serious, we will always face problems like this in the diaspora. However, moving forward, Mr. Sabally, do you think that the Gambia government itself is doing the right negotiation when it comes to migrants living in either in Europe or in Asia or in the Middle East in terms of its own citizens?
No, the government is not taking this issue seriously. And this is why I said they're just paying lip service to the matter of the diaspora. Because if you can promulgate in your official development policy that this region is so important that you treating it as if it were a contiguous geographical region in the administrative setup of the country, then even your budget, part of it should be allocated to that region. Because I believe, for instance, right now that the Gambia government, with all these millions of dollars and euros coming in terms of COVID-related aid, at least the diaspora should receive something. But unfortunately, I had to release several audios today speaking on behalf of Gambian students living abroad who've seen our National Assembly approve tens of millions of dollars for COVID-related support that's supposed to help them, but they've still not received this money after filling all the forms and going through all these bureaucratic hurdles. But this government, and then perhaps it's because Barrow, in his self-centered approach to national governance, he feels that the diaspora are critical of him. Perhaps he fears that they would not vote for him. He's not doing anything to support the diaspora, and that's really it's so disappointing and so wrong by every standard, because Barrow himself admitted that it was the diaspora who helped him become president. And now governments come and go, but the country stays. What the diaspora is doing, I'm sure his own NPP supporters, they're benefiting from remittances from the diaspora. So this is just, if it were not for the most terrible enemy of a human being, which is his ego, Barrow should have done everything to make sure that the plight of our brothers and sisters working and studying abroad becomes better. And I believe if they prioritize this from day one, the situation of Gambian diaspora would have been much better, with especially the goodwill that came with the change of government. Paradise lost. Very sad.
Mr. Sabally, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you on the line from Banjul. That was Mr. Momodou Sabally, an advocate, a motivational speaker, and author to the famous book called Jangi Jollof. It's always a pleasure to have you, Mr. Sabally. Thank you very much.